Hello and welcome to the Art of Value Whispering podcast. I'm your host, Melitta Campbell, business coach and value whisperer, and I'm excited that you are here. It's September and I've dedicated this sort of kickstart after the summer month to women who are empowering other women. And they are each sharing their different perspectives to help empower you further to dream bigger, to be an amazing role model, to step up into the person that you really can be and how to communicate that difference and the potential of female-owned and led businesses out there. I am so excited for all of the guests we have coming up. And today we have Andrea Delannoy from MOD-ELLE. She understood from a personal, but also from a research perspective, from a scientific perspective, the difference it makes in women's lives when they have positive role models who are showing them what's possible. And for a lot of history, unfortunately, the good work and achievements of women have been hidden. So while these are starting to be revealed bit by bit, we can also accelerate that journey by being amazing role models ourselves. And I'm excited that Andrea's organization, MOD-ELLE, recently was awarded the Gender Award at the Swiss Diversity Awards just last week. So congratulations, Andrea. Amazing recognition of your work. And we're going to dive into that in a moment. Before we listen to what Andrea has to say, I want to invite you to become part of the Dream Clients Club community. This is a free community that I've put together to help empower and inspire you in your business, to help you to connect with more of your dream clients while being authentically you, having that voice, understand how to market, communicate, and sell your value with confidence through everything that you do. We have weekly live marketing masterclasses with me. We have just finished the 4-day magnetic messages challenge, which is still there for you to enjoy. And there's just the most incredible community of amazing women and a handful of men who are really passionate about using their knowledge, their expertise to help others lead a better life in one way or another. So do come and join us. You will find the Dream Clients Club at melittacampbell.com/club. And as I mentioned, it's completely free to join us. So I look forward to welcoming you there. And it's also where we can continue the discussion from today's show. Meantime, here's Andrea. So hi, Andrea. It's brilliant to have you on the show today.
Hi, Melissa. It's brilliant to be here.
And I am looking forward to this conversation because, from the minute we met, we've bumped into each other a lot on social media, and we met in person a few months ago. And yeah, just such a wonderful discussion, and understanding what you do really inspired me. And I think it's going to inspire the audience as well to think more broadly, not just about how do we inspire our clients and our marketplace, but how can we inspire the generations that are coming up behind us as well. So I'm looking forward to diving into that. But before we do, could you introduce yourself to the audience and explain, how did you come to create MOD-ELLE? How did you get to where you are today?
Oh, it's a long journey that started in Romania. I'm born in Romania and I started my career in finance. I graduated from economics and specialized in finance and banking. And I worked for the Romanian Court of Audit as an auditor. And it was an amazing job. I really loved numbers and working with them. And I thought I'm going to make it a lifetime career. But destiny wanted different from me. And I met a French guy living in Switzerland that was so persuasive. He even moved to Romania to convince me to marry him, which I did. But that put an end to my career at the Romanian Court of Audit. And to more, actually, that I was about to learn something that I wasn't prepared for. I faced challenges like that most foreigners coming here do face. I came into a country that I had no clue about the codes and the rules, and it was quite different also. I didn't expect back in Romania that I would be so challenged into developing professionally.
And here is Switzerland, just to clarify.
Yes, here in Switzerland. Yeah, sorry. And it was something for me that also it was challenging, but also I was thinking that is an opportunity as well to see if there is something else there. So I started working in me now that I can offer. And I started working with women associations, started to meet women to try to understand how they lived. And I remember being very surprised because it was not similar with what the women do live their lives in Romania. Since the communism, Romanian women work outside the house as well. And I specify outside the house because we all know the second shift that we women have with the household. So I was not prepared for this model where traditional gender roles where male are working 100% and women are working part-time and sometimes not at all outside the house. But it took me years to understand. And I remember that it was quite depressing at times, People were telling me, well, if you have a child, then you're gonna be occupied, and I even felt pressured to have a child immediately. So then I have a social existence. But learning about these challenges women face have helped me to have a big shift in my career to try to help women to navigate successfully their development professionally and personally. Because I did struggle. I have two girls, by the way, in the meantime. And I don't want my girls to struggle either. Even if they're born here, they're half French, half Romanian, but they were born here. They have different, let's say, start than I did. But I do not want them to live with the limited opportunities or to limit themselves based on societal rules like a social order. So I made my life work to help with that, to help women navigate their professional life, help them from having strategic conversations with them, building action plans, networking them into the job market, which is, let's say, the ingredient that I like to add to that, using my own network that I've built in 22 years of living here. So then they can live a successful and a fulfilling life. I'm not saying that then being a mother, it's not a fulfilling, it's the most difficult task I've experienced to have. But in order precisely to be, we're the first role models of our children. And it was paramount to me to be the role model that I wanted to be for my children. It still is. They are my compass in life. So I work with women today through my consulting. I work as well with men to close the circle. I mentor male leaders to support them to become more inclusive leaders. And I'm also working with companies to help them in their process of building a diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy, or to implement one for the ones that already have one. So talking about MOD-ELLE, because you asked me, exactly that understanding that I built about why the Swiss society was more unequal than other societies that I've known made me to understand that root cause and work on the root cause of inequality, which are the gender stereotypes. And it was proven that the gender stereotypes do impact our professional aspirations from a very young age. So I've built in 2017 MOD-ELLE, which is an association that works with schools. We propose in-class activities to the primary schools with professional women from the world of work, all walks of life, that go to school and talk to children about their jobs, about their careers, and inspire them, open their horizon, and help them think what would they like to become in their lives beyond gender stereotypes. And I'm very happy and very grateful to all the role models that I salute on the occasion that are going with over 250 now, going into schools with extraordinary enthusiasm and inspire literally. And when I talk about this, I always have goosebumps. They inspire children, and I can see and feel every single time I go in the classroom the impact, because I'm asked often, what is the impact? I can feel it every time we go into a classroom, immediate impact that these amazing women have on children. So to wrap it up, I took two beats of the equality work. One is on the younger generation, future generations, we're trying with MOD-ELLE to inspire them to choose their career based on their own wishes and wants. And on the other spectrum, I work with women to help them navigate successfully their careers, and with men to help them build diverse and resilient companies.
Yeah, I love everything about what you just said. That was, when I came here from London, I had the same sort of culture shock. I worked in banking in London and moved here, and I just saw that so many women have been told once too often, oh, you can't do that because you're a woman, and they've believed it. And I just didn't have that experience in my career at all. I'd had completely the opposite, in fact, lots of encouragement. And so I started a women's network to try and put things right, started the leadership coaching to help people understand how to communicate with anyone and how to bring everybody into the conversation and grow networks and helped women as well to take more responsibility for their own personal development, because we can't wait for the companies to do that. I think we have a strong role to play in our own future and success. We can take much more responsibility for that. And yeah, the outcomes were brilliant. But I think working with the leaders and then what the work you do with the younger children as well coming up is so important. My daughter has just done a surf camp in Swansea, which is my hometown where I grew up. And she asked me, she's like, why didn't you surf? And I was like, well, girls didn't do that. When I was growing up, I lived in a town where there's lots of great surfing. There was international surf competitions every year. It's a big place for surfing. So we would go and we would swim, but it just never occurred to us as girls that we could surf as well because it's a boys' sport. And it's just so crazy now to look at that. And she went on the surf camp and at least 50%, if not more, were girls. And there's no reason why girls can't do this. But yeah, it just didn't even cross my mind because
you maybe haven't seen other women doing it, and this is the whole point, where they like role model the way for the girls. They can represent themselves doing those jobs or activities for as long as there were no women. And history made a good job in making women invisible, even when they did participate in economic development or any other areas. Now we start to dig up, historical women that have contributed to the world, but patriarchy had hidden them for us. So there was no representation about women in many of the sports, in many careers. But thank God this is changing, and our girls now have more opportunities to actually project themselves into the future.
Yeah. And I think some of these old experiences become ingrained in us. So, for example, my daughter wants to become a forensic scientist. And my instant thought in my mind was like, oh, but you're a girl and it's going to be dead bodies and rotting flesh and horrible things. But, I knew enough to stop myself and not say anything like that. But I was like, isn't that interesting that my first thought, even though I've done a lot of work on gender equality and in the female space and everything, I'm still thinking, oh, but girls don't do that. Is my instant thought, and I'm catching that. But yeah, if we can start to break this chain with the young generation and with the work you're doing with leadership, then yeah, that's what it takes. It's a long path, but efforts like this are going to make a difference.
It is a long path because there's gender biases that we all have. To make it clear, we all have gender biases. And it's a long path because it had impacted our societies for so long that had become ingrained. Some people believe that are genetic, So we need to precisely catch ourselves when we think or even express biased opinions, because this is the first step actually to move forward. We become aware of it, and then when we know better, we do better, don't we?
Yes, exactly. So you mentioned that you work with women in helping them with their career and their advancement and personal development. And do you see some of these biases holding them back? Is that one of the areas that you need to work on with them?
Absolutely. There are biases and there are circumstances. I work with younger generations. I support female for the first job, coming out of tertiary education or else, that have never yet had a professional, let's say, work. And I realize, especially with the tertiary educated women, I've been mentoring women in the University of Geneva for now 12 years. And not only women, actually, I had only women by chance, but students. But what I've noticed is that how opaque and invisible the job market is to them. They have no clue most of the time, even what job titles to apply to. or this is the circumstances, but the bias is they're looking precisely for feminized job. They are not projecting, even if their studies allow them to successfully apply to jobs that are considered more like tagged like masculine, they are refraining from going there. And with more seasoned women, especially foreigners that I work with, I noticed that the circumstantial barriers are the fact that we are, as foreigners, sometimes we don't have transferable skills, we don't have the right diplomas, or the society is not, and I've learned this myself, it's not open to what you had to bring to the table initially. So this is a circumstantial issue that we can change, but it is initially, at least it's a barrier. But I do hear and a lot of biased views on what women can do, what women can't do, expressed by women themselves. And I also work with entrepreneurs, helping them in the first stages. I don't do like the creating the company or anything. They do the fiduciary, but I work with the initial stages to test their idea to see how viable the product or the project will be. And with the strategic discussions I have with them, I hear, oh, I can't go there because I'm going to be eaten up by men. I'm like, well, it is possible. There is some circumstances to that, but they are sometimes not even considering doing some of the steps they have to do because of this, try to work with women for women. It's, of course, we will have more insight, when we work with women, but it is also necessary to go out there and, let's say, face the men's world and bring them to the same level, let's say, leveling up. What I face sometimes in discussion I have, which bothers me really, it's the bottom leveling. Like, let's be cool, let's not be audacious. Well, I am audacious, and I try to help the women I work with to be as well, because sometimes they're quite heavy barriers in front of us, and we need to be audacious enough to go and break them down.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm coming from the opposite side. So I wouldn't necessarily call myself audacious at all, but I will go and ask and say, well, this is what I want to do. I think I can make an impact here. But by making it clear that, well, this is what's in it for you. And working on my communication skills personally has helped me massively. And when I was going into work meetings and I had that typical situation where I would put an idea forward and it would be ignored, and then a guy a couple of seats down would say the same thing 5 minutes later, and everyone would go, oh, amazing idea. It's like, I just said that. But then when I worked on my communication skills, my public speaking skills, I was able to formulate my thoughts and get them across much more clearer and with more gravitas in my voice. None of this apologizing, well, what if, I kind of think maybe, none of that kind of language. I just said it outright, and suddenly people did respond to me, and it was almost like a miracle because overnight people are like listening and saying, oh, that's a good idea, let's move this forward. And I was like, wow, it wasn't ever that I was being spoken over because I'm a woman. I was being spoken over because I wasn't being clear. I wasn't being confident enough in my communication personally. So once I worked on that side of things and my personal confidence and self-belief, then everything else changed from there. So I think audacious doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a loud, bold person like you really are, but having that inner confidence and self-belief and working on your skills, as you said, the personal development side for women is so important. There's nothing we can't do. And I think sometimes we look to how the men do it, and they are a bit aggressive. I've worked in sales offices where there's literally punch-ups in the office where the men are trying to get their point across. And I'm like, yeah, I don't ever want to compete on that level. I need to find my own way. So I think sometimes we can hold back because we're not like the men. But I think that's okay. We can absolutely embrace how we are personally and still push those barriers strongly in the way that we need to.
Yes. Well, I agree. I often hear people saying male have confidence, women have to have competence, and I agree with that too, but they're not mutually exclusive. I do strongly believe in competence and building an expertise, and especially communication is key. And communicating effectively is something that you learn. But it doesn't exclude, to me at least, the confidence that I often need to work with the women I work with on that aspect. They have all the competences they need. They have all the skills. They're extremely expert in what they do. And still, they lack the confidence to move forward and actually be vocal about that and actually take the space. I'm not saying, and you were right, if it's about being aggressive and especially incompetent, which we often sometimes see, it's not about that. It's about, yes, build yourself, but then also go out there, actually. This is something that I found very present in Switzerland. They have a lot of know-how, but less of, in French, it's nice how you say it. They have no savoir-faire, but not faire savoir, which means they know how to do things, but they know less how to talk about it. And it does apply to women even more because, yes, there's cultural aspects that make that women are quite quiet, but they pay a high price. Basically, I've noticed in the years I've been working with women, they pay sometimes a high price. They have extraordinary competences and skills, but nobody knows about it.
Yeah. Well, I think they do know about it. Because when I ran my women's network, it was open to men as well, because I didn't believe you could fight exclusivity with more exclusivity. And after a while, I asked the men, well, what do you get out of this? And one of the things that they said really struck me, and they all said this, that it was the first time they'd seen women speaking up. And the first time, therefore, they believed that we can promote these women because they can represent us in a meeting, because they knew that the women could absolutely do the work.
Yes.
But could they represent us outside our team? Will they ever speak up in an external meeting? And that was the big thing that they just didn't know, because the women weren't proving that point. So I think, yeah. But where do you think this gap comes from then? So we have women who are, and we know, amazingly competent, very expert, more than good enough. And we know that. All the women that start a business, they wouldn't start a business if they didn't believe they had something valuable to do. They just wouldn't take that step. We're not that bold and risky. We know I can make a difference for other people, therefore I'm going to start this business. So we know that we have this value, but then what happens? Why do we start to have this doubt? And the same in an office. We know we're capable, but what holds us back? Is it those biases that we were brought up with, do you think?
I believe this is a root cause. And then obviously in each society, there are more cultural aspects that also intervene. And in Switzerland, as we know, and now the traditional gender roles are so still prevalent, and the society incentivizes it. You have definitely noticed how damn if they do, damn if they don't, women face constantly when they have to juggle career and professional work. If you have kids and you work, oh my God, it's sacrilege. You're asked constantly, what about your kids? Where are your kids? And this is something that obviously it puts women on a different level on the playfield then. And there is a reality of the fact that women have, especially with young children, they can't, as they juggle it, and we all know the scarcity of childcare here and the expensiveness of childcare. So women here are absolutely heroes, the ones that manage to stay in the workforce and rear children. I admire them greatly because of how the structural issues do not help them with that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes even the family and their partners are unsupportive, and they still continue and fight for their right to exist. This is how I see it, right to exist, because we all identify with our work. We spend most of our time working, right? So we do identify with what we do. So imagine in our days and time needing to fight for the right to work. For me, it was a crazy thing when I moved here. But because I understand the gender stereotypes, biases, reasons, the structural reasons, and the cultural reasons for that, I just can't sit back and not do something about it. It's my fuel. I need, and I know I can, based on what I've learned in 22 years and the networks I've built, I know I can help with that. and I do anything for that, to advancing our society. I feel very Swiss. I have 3 nationalities. I'm Romanian, French, and Swiss, but it's the only nationality that I actually feel that I've earned. And I want to keep on going. And I was even, I'm very grateful and that I was recognized by Switzerland. I woke up one morning to find out that the media dubbed me a change maker in 2022 in the Forum of 100. And after pinching myself to believe that is true, I was like, God, this comes with an extraordinary honor, but also extraordinary responsibility. I feel even more invested into bringing the change that I can bring to our society. So then, yes, we are catching up, especially on equality. As you know, we need to catch up, do quite some catch upping.
Yeah. I remember when I arrived 20 years ago, it did feel like stepping back into the 70s. It was so far behind. And they have come an extraordinarily long way since then. But as you say, there's still a long way to go. So what do you see as that evolution? What do you think it will take to accelerate and not just catch up, but get to where we really need to be?
Yes. I'm an extraordinary optimist. Nothing can put me down, really, not even sickness, which I unfortunately experienced. But I believe in our youth. Thank God our younger generation are challenging already the status quo. The young fathers want to be part of their children's daily routine. And the women start to be vocal about inequalities that they are experiencing. So I'm really confident and I'm banking on our youth. I'm supporting them as much as I can with MOD-ELLE because it's a mentality thing. This thing takes time. This is why I have decided to work. Well, there are several reasons I work with primaries, because the gender stereotypes start to crystallize very early on. That was proven by science, but also because it takes time and it's better to prevent than to cure, as we say. And working on gender biases with adults, it is more challenging than working with children that they are challenging them early on. So yes, I do believe in our younger generations, and I think they're going to change the status quo because they have been also raised by more feminist mothers that instill in them this hunger for more equal and fair world.
You mentioned the word feminist there, which I think was quite interesting because there's been a lot in the media recently about how the young generation coming up think that feminism is women hating men. And you just think, oh, we've come so far. Why are you suddenly so misunderstanding this term? What's your perspective on feminism?
Oh, I am often the feminist, the service, in my surroundings. There's let's say, the new age of feminism has dramatically changed from the historical ones. And I believe that we can't be a woman and not be a feminist, because it's about female rights and we should all fight for that. But how we do it, each of us, I believe that this is the personal matter. And I have no lesson to give to anyone. You should be doing that. You should be doing that. I think fighting for a better world, fighting for women's rights, it's a normal thing to do for me as a woman. And I consider myself obviously a feminist. Do I abide everything that is said and done, what was said and done about that? Obviously not. I have my own opinion, but I've learned something very valuable to me is to have this, let's say, tolerance about people having very different opinion of mine, even if we have evolved in the same area. So I do respect everyone's opinion. And I do think that everyone has his right to do and understand feminism as they wish and do their part as they wish in terms of fighting for our rights. And I do the same. I do it my way, via MOD-ELLE, via helping women. It is a feminist work because I work for women's rights, civil rights, and not only.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's all about just having a fair, just, equal society and everyone having the equal opportunities. But unfortunately, that we're so far behind, we do need to fight for those rights and to fight for that voice and that place at the table to get there. But what I'm really encouraged by is the more men that I'm seeing joining this cause now as well. It's not just about women fighting, it's about the men and women having that discussion, really pushing forward this agenda. So I find that really encouraging. Is that something
Yeah.
you're seeing? You work with quite a few male leaders, helping them understand the female perspective. Are you seeing that men are more open to that now and seeing that that's actually very important for them to be successful?
Absolutely. And that also adds to my optimism that, when I talk with them in our discussions with the men I mentor, oftentimes they say, oh, I've never thought about that. And it goes down to privilege. Men are privileged by patriarchy and have been historically. But it is a fact that we are blind to privilege. And I have learned this on my own skin. When I moved to Switzerland, I learned from the airport because I had a lovely conversation that I will not relate to here with the customs people, male. There were 3 male. I had an hour conversation with them because I was stopped and asked questions. And what I realized after this episode was 2 things in 1 hour. I realized that I was privileged in Romania, and I didn't know back then that I was, but I also understood that it was over. But only when I've learned from this questioning, cross-examining, I don't know how to call that, with these people, only then I realized that, oh my God, I was so privileged before. And it is true, we're blind to that. Only when you lose it, you actually awaken to the fact that you were privileged. So I do understand that blindness of man, but it's so touching and so exciting for me to precisely through conversations with them, making them see the female perspective of things, and in a way that it's not threatening for them, because that is also another issue. That how do we talk, and I often say this in my public speaking: if I give you a big slap now, and then I tell you something very important, will you listen to me? You will very likely think about the pain if I hurt you and the shame of it, and you will not pick up actually what I want to say. So I don't believe in aggressivity. To go back to audacity, for me, it's very different. Being audacious, meaning having the confidence built on competence, yes, but confidence to go out there. And it's another thing to be aggressive. I hate aggressivity of any kind. So I do have extraordinary pleasure to accompany this man and see how actually ignorant they are to the female perspective, which the whole society was built by men for men. And we don't have their perspective either, to be fair. And I want to take the opportunity to say that with MOD-ELLE, we go into classrooms where the kids are, and like boys and girls, both of them. And I'm very happy that we are touching the boys as well. Of course, the girls can identify with the women they meet, but the boys also are very lucky to meet this one, because they are, first of all, learning also about careers that are dubbed as feminine at an early age, when they're not yet formatted against this, to say that male transgress even less than we do when it comes to the codes and the careers which are suitable for their gender. There are more women in EPFL and technical schools than there are male as midwives or nurses, because precisely the masculine codes are very constraining for men as well, even more. So therefore, I'm very happy, and I want to stress that I am addressing boys as well. I do not yet, at least, bring male as well into the schools, because it was a very practical reason. They were not ready. When I started, I did the testing, and the women are all enthusiastic, let's go, let's do it. And the men were like, yeah, sure, yeah, you do it. So they were not yet ready to go into the classroom. So I started with the ones that were ready. But I do address girls and boys. We open their horizons to all of them. So then, only then, when men and women will understand our role into what we bring to the table, each of us, for a better and a fair world, it's important to find out that, and everyone feels free to go there, boys and girls.
Yeah. And as our role personally, we are perhaps have the biggest influence over our own families. Like you say, you've got two daughters, I've got two daughters. And so I've really consciously tried to help them see the realities of what it's like to build a business, to run a family. And my husband has been very conscious about doing 50% of the cooking, the cleaning, the household tasks as well. And we've had male cleaners and really trying to help them see an equal world. Is there anything else that we can do beyond our own family to help inspire the new generation or other people?
I strongly believe in role models, obviously. People, especially younger generations, are observing us. It's not just our kids. We meet a lot of people, younger generations. And what like kids do, they actually watch us more than they listen to us. And they also watch us in the professional environment. So I keep this in mind, that people that watch us, when we speak publicly, people listen to you and you don't know who's in the audience, but it is important to, and we go to communication, you're going to love that, to communicate effectively in a way that it does address the people, the audience that you don't even see in the digital era. So I'm very aware. I spend a lot of time perfecting the way I communicate what I want to say, and I keep developing, I learn, I read, I'm curious about a lot of things, but in order to be able to precisely, every time I talk, whether is on one-on-one or whether is more publicly, I want to be able to convey the message I want to, and that it's work to become an effective communicator. It takes work, but I think it is something that we can all do. The ones that have their own business is a must, let's say. But even if not, people are watching, people are listening. What you post, what you say, it has an impact on people that watch you, listen to you. So I do pay a lot of attention to that.
Yeah, I think it's great that you mentioned there about public speaking as well, because that's something that is more visible. And as business owners, we need to be visible, but sometimes we have a bit of self-doubt. But thinking that it's not just about us, and it's not even just about being visible to our audience, but making sure that there is an equal number of women being seen in the media, in the news, on stages, because you never know who else is looking as well. So I hadn't really considered that aspect before, but I was scrolling through LinkedIn earlier, and I remember there was a sales and marketing, a big conference, and there was a male speaker, and he'd published this picture, but it was him, and all the speakers were male. Pretty much the entire audience was male. I was like, but this is sales and marketing. I would have thought that should definitely be 50-50. And I know so many incredible female speakers on that topic. I was really surprised that still that was happening. But then, yeah, if I'm scrolling through that on my computer and my daughter sees it behind me, these images, particularly for the younger generation, they are so visual and instant. Yes. I think it makes a big difference. So, yeah.
And it does. And when today, companies work on employer branding, which is great, but our biases come out. I work with a company these days, which is precisely that, with the image of the companies on there, if they want to, when they post videos and so on, to make sure that their videos, the photos are inclusive and representative of the whole population. There was a video with about, it's a technical business with a lot of engineers. Most of them are male, but there are female as well. But in the videos, there were none. There were no female. And precisely, it is very important for the women that also see this ad and thinking, oh, this is a company I would like to work for, or unconsciously, they will dismiss it because they didn't see themselves into that video. They didn't see their gender represented. Even if they actually have women in this company, they have women. I've learned after that the reasons, like some they didn't want to, that was also they didn't want to be public, they didn't want to be seen. There are several reasons, but it is important for companies to have this kind of attention. I remember a story a couple of years ago I had with another company where they were genuinely not seeing the issue. They were so blatantly sexist, they ad. And I called them, I say, let's talk about this. And it was already on the billboards, but they withdrew it because that they didn't say it. And there were women, actually in the communication department that built it. but they haven't thought about it. They thought they're doing well. It was representing women, but in a very sexist way. And it's funny to see how a little attention that sometimes I did it, sometimes other people, they just realizing themselves when they're working on a project, there's something missing in here. So people become more and more aware of how important image is, how what we translate, and the wording, what they say. What I also had to correct some of the wording, which was, and it's not about inclusive writing, it's about the way the wording was framed, hinted that male were targeted. So there's a lot of work to do, but it's also very interesting, I find, to go and work on these little things, because they will have an amazing impact in a digital area over a lot of people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And thank you so much for sharing everything. It's been so inspiring. Before we wrap up, is there any final advice you'd like to leave the audience with, particularly when what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, is that one of the biggest things that we can do as women is to work on our confidence, work in our personal development, our communication skills, so that we can play a bigger role in a leadership capacity, but also in inspiring others and feeling able to be visible, to be able to fill these gaps in society, in the media, and wherever we need to. Is there any advice you'd have to help women step into that direction?
I want to say something about authenticity, because yes, we need to build expertise, and I know some people are not agreeing with that, because that as women we should not be judged on double standards. But guess what? We are. And I do believe that it's not going to serve us to be as incompetent as some men are. And I do not encourage people to do that. So I encourage people to actually build expertise and be good, especially women, because we are still living in an unfair world, and we are judged on different standard. And obviously be vocal and visible about it, learning how to communicate efficiently, obviously. But what I wanted to leave the audience with is the caveat about authenticity. It is obviously need to be authentic, but I want to say that there is a time, especially when you reinvent yourself, which many of us had to do here coming into a new country, a new environment, is that when reinventing yourself, being authentic, it's not going to come right away. It's going to feel uncomfortable for a while. It's going to be because it's a new thing, it's a new you, but it has to be you. So you have to listen to that whispering little voice, but not the ego one, because there's one that speaks loudly, and that's your ego. But the whispering that tells you something is right, something is not right. And if you don't feel it right, it's probably because you're not ready yet. And I underline yet. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does feel right. It does have to feel you. It is a new you, very likely. And I have to say, I was notoriously shy and introvert. This is why I chose finance, because I was in a 3-square-meter office with my piles of files. But in Switzerland, I had to dig very deep to find the skills that I needed to be successful here. And I dug very deep. And I had become a super extrovert. Even my Myers-Briggs, how do you call this, MBTI score changed from introvert to extrovert. Of course, I haven't changed, but I never tapped into that extroversion. And initially, it did not really feel authentic, I have to say. Someone pushed me on the stage to host an event. I thought I'm going to drop dead. Honestly, Melissa, I was so petrified. But then I've learned how to talk, how to be on the stage. I got some support, and do get help. I want to leave the audience with that. I was reluctant to hire consultants and coaches, and all. I even had later on, I had a bad experience with one. So I was like, oh, okay, I extrapolated. But getting help can buy you years. And if it's about a career or a job, it can buy you years of unemployment that it's going to cost you much more. But also all sorts of consultants, if you need to do public speaking and you're not feeling that, go get help. It's okay. I say this to most women. It's okay to ask for help. I've learned it the hard way as well, I get sick 2 years ago, and I had to let go on many things. And guess what? Surroundings started to jump in and do things that I thought I only could do it myself. Well, and I did ask for help, and I got help. So it is important, get help, and be patient with yourself about the authenticity part. When you change, especially when you change careers and all, it's coming. Sometimes takes some time, takes work. But when you're ready, let's say, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it. It feels right. It feels good. You feel you're in the right place.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that as well, because it's hard, isn't it? Where you have your personal branding and you have to be authentic, which means be you. And sometimes we don't even know who we are, particularly if we've been pulled, like so many women, you have so many roles, you're serving so many other people, you kind of lose a sense of, well, who am I? But then that's a big opportunity to look at, well, who do I want to be? Who do I need to be to reach my goals and my vision? And how do I get there step by step? And one thing that you've said that echoes what every single guest has said is, you can't get there on your own. Ask for help in whatever guise that is. If you can afford it, get a coach or mentor. As you said, it will save you so many years, and it will be more fun in the process as well. But in terms of communication skills and public speaking, there are the Virtual Speakers Association. That, I think that costs like £50 a year to be part of that. And Toastmasters is like about 150 or 200 francs to be part of each year. So you can get really amazing support for your communication skills that is so affordable. And then you build your confidence, your network, and so many other things alongside that as well. So I think, even though communication has been my entire career, my personal communication skills has been a lot harder. Obviously, I know the theory and everything and the context, but doing it for yourself is always harder. And so I've only been able to get there with help. But I think it's for sure the most rewarding skill that I've developed over the years, and has helped me to, as like yourself, I was a shy introvert, and it was developing those skills that has helped me to be more visible, to show up on this podcast. And that's part of the reason why I do it, is to keep pushing myself, because otherwise I will quite easily shrink back and just hide behind my computer. But I need to have like something to keep pushing those skills, keep pushing that comfort zone, so it keeps expanding comfortably as you go forward. But we need to be visible. We need to have that voice and our way as well. So thank you so much for everything you've shared. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. It's really lovely to have shared and meet you. As you said, we bump into each other for years, but now we had the chance to have a little chat, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, if people would like to learn more about your work with leadership and career advancement on MOD-ELLE, where's the best place for them to find you?
There will be my website. For MOD-ELLE, I have www.mod/ELLE.ch, where all the work we do is in there. You can find it. And for my consulting work, it's called EOS Consulting, www.eosconsulting.ch.
Brilliant. And we'll put those links in the show notes underneath this as well. So, Andrea, thank you again so much.
Thank you, Melissa, and have a great day.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you have found this episode valuable and have taken some fresh insights about what it takes for you to take that next step in your business, in your career, and how in doing so you can be a powerful role model for other people around you, even if you're not aware of it. So it is so worth us taking that courage to speak up, be visible, share our value, and take joy and pride in sharing our expertise and inspiration. I would love to know more about what this discussion has meant for you. So do come and share your thoughts in the Dream Clients Club. Again, you can find us at melittacampbell.com/club, and that's Melitta with 2 T's. And while you're there, hang around, come and join us for one of the live value sessions. They happen every Thursday afternoon, and all the replays are in there for you to enjoy as well, as along with the Magnetic Messages Challenge and the most amazing community. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this. If you did enjoy the episode, do be a role model and be inspiration for other people in your network, and share this further. Share this episode with your network and business besties. And I'd love it if you would take a moment to leave a review for the show on iTunes or Spotify. We are in Women Empowering Women Month here on the podcast, and so we have lots more inspiration and practical tips coming up for you in the next few episodes, so do come back and join us for those. Meantime, I'm Melitta Campbell, your business coach and value whisperer, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye.